All right, Butch, I'm going to start with you.
Go ahead.
Since we're having a great meal, what would be if you were going to have your last meal on Earth, or you could put something together? It doesn't even have to go together. Appetizer. Let's start with an appetizer. What would you pick?
Well, I'm a really big fan of mussels as an appetizer. You know, if I don't go to the mussels, I'm a soup lover. Like I have soup.
You order soup a lot.
I order soup almost with every meal, and it doesn't really matter what kind it is, other than mushroom. I hate mushroom soup. I absolutely do despise mushroom soup.
So, Brendan, what about you? If you're gonna have an appetizer?
Well, I was thinking as sushi as an appetizer, like normally that would be my go-to of just the whole meal.
Oh.
So I think maybe if I had that as an appetizer and knew that I could just enjoy a little bit of it because I've got a real meal coming on the way, I think that's probably the way I'd do it.
Okay, so since we're close to Thanksgiving and I think of the fall, my appetizer is a little traditional and not that fancy. It's a buffalo chicken dip.
Ooh.
I love, yeah, that's like something, it reminds me of tailgating, and you just put together, you know, pulled chicken and the Frank's hot sauce and the blue cheese and just do the scoops, and it's not fancy, but I don't know. Growing up, we would have what we called Princess Sundays, which just basically was an easy excuse for my mom and I to sit back and drink some great wine, and my brother and my dad would cook dinner, and it was whatever came off the grill with some great sides.
Yeah.
So I don't care if it's whether it's burgers or steak, but that would be my main.
I'm pretty succinct here. I love my steak, and if I can go out on the barbecue and cook myself up a nice fillet or porterhouse or whatever the case is, it doesn't have to be a certain steak, and then it's got to be. I take a potato and I cut it up into small pieces, and I throw some butter and some pepper and some garlic, and then I throw it on the barbecue wrapped up in tin foil. Oh. I love that. It just tastes so good. And then I am a cream corn.
Really?
Cream corn.
Crazy man. I will eat a whole can with it.
I'm kind of with him. I think it'd just be a nice filet medium rare. I think would be
I'll have
the way
you
to
over
go.
if you want to.
Yeah, I
really
would like
get
to come over
tested.
for dinner too.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll bring
we'll discuss you.
I'll bring the coleslaw. I'll bring the broccoli slaw. So, kind of finishing out our favorite meals. Both of you guys steak and potatoes. But what are you having for dessert?
But my favorite dessert is what they call back in Canada. It's called apple brown Betty, and I like to eat it piping hot with vanilla ice cream. For me,
pie?
No, it's like a cake almost, but you just scoop it out. You cook it in a bowl. So I think they call it apple crumb cake. Is a very similar concept, but for me, I like that. I really enjoyed. Absolutely.
What are you having for dessert?
I might have this. I mean, the funny thing, like Mary and I actually discussed having cheesecake as our wedding cake.
Really?
Like, we liked cheesecake that much. We didn't do it. I think just because not everybody likes cheesecake as much as we do.
Yeah.
But it was certainly on the list. So cheesecake is pretty up there. And I like strawberries, cherries, like a red velvet cheesecake. That's pretty good.
My favorite dessert, it also tied in with Thanksgiving, is this like chocolate trifle that is just, it's so good. It's like chocolate and Heath bars and whipped cream, and I'm a chocolate girl. So if I'm gonna have something for dessert, I'm not huge into dessert. If it's not cheesecake here, I'm gonna do a chocolate trifle, for sure. So if you're having your favorite meal, then you can invite one person. I'm curious, Brendan, who would you want to have dinner with?
I think Vin Scully. I think I would invite Vin Scully. I think that would be really cool for somebody who obviously is the top of the profession, but the life that he's lived, the things that he's seen, the transition that he's seen from when he started calling Brooklyn Dodger games to where he is now, he'd be a pretty cool guy to spend a couple hours with just to chat.
Yeah.
There's broadcasters and there's Vin. Like,
yeah, on a different level.
We're all competing for second place.
Yeah. What about you, Butch?
This is really an easy one for me. As you guys all know, I'm a golf fanatic.
Yeah.
So Phil Mickelson is the guy that I would love to sit down with, because every time I see interviews with this guy, he always seems to be having fun. When you see him playing on the golf course, he's always talking to all the fans, and to be around a guy that's such a great player, for me, that would be a lot of fun.
It dawned on me when I thought about it right away that I didn't really get to know my grandfather, my dad's father, Joe Jr., very well, because he had Alzheimer's when I was a kid. And I think when you're a kid, you don't really realize that you're not going to have an opportunity to know your grandparents as adults.
Right.
And so I would just love to sit down with him, because I've heard so many stories over the years of what he was like, and I didn't feel like I got to see that personality. So there are a lot of people in the world, but I would take one meal with Peepaw, as we like to call him.